Hey, welcome to another episode of Wally Hill's Garage. Here, we're going to do the intake manifold walnut shell blasting, right? So the dealer charges a good amount of money for this because they have to take apart most of the manifold on the top of the engine, which you actually have done already. I think you've seen it in a previous clip. But what you can purchase, if you want to do it yourself, is BMW actually makes this part. And the part essentially this, okay? Take a look. It's made in Germany, right there. And what this does is allow you to take the manifold, put it right in. It has a hole here, the walnut blasting, right? And this is the vacuum, so it sucks it all up. And then you have to kind of crank the engine to shut the valves, and you blast it, and you blast all 6 of the intake ports, and all the carbon buildup is gone, and then your engine runs better. This is really interesting that BMW itself makes these. It's a pretty durable piece. It's made of a solid aluminum. It's actually pretty good quality. But one thing you will need, which you don't know, you're going to need one of these. This is a blasting unit. So air goes in here. As you can see. And we fill it with walnut shells, crushed 24 grit through a funnel through here, and then this will blast it through this wand. And that wand you can insert in that hole. It's quite an interesting little setup. I recommend you do invest in these tools because a blasting from the dealership costs you more than the tools themselves. And you can keep doing this every 20,000 miles versus like 60 or more that they recommend. In the fact that it costs so much, right? But if you can do it yourself, you can do it more frequently, and the car runs better. So anyway, yeah, get a blasting kit. I highly recommend it. All right, so let's go blast the engine and clean up all that carbon deposit. Okay, let's get to it. Here's the manifold. If you get in here, there's this box, right? And it's hooked with these 2 tabs. There's a kind of a hook here that goes into this box here. To get it out, you take a pry bar, like this, you jam between, like there's a little, if you see there's an edge there. So this can be jammed against that edge. You pry like this, and then it'll basically do this and push this out. Otherwise, it's insanely hard to get out. But you have to remove the manifold first before you can pry this out. Once it's pried, the manifold can be moved and removed. So let's do that. Okay, let's come back here. I've got a flashlight, so it's made in Germany, as you can see. They use this tool specifically for this work. So let's see if we can get a better view in here. I don't know if you can see in there, but you see all the crusted buildup in there? We're going to blast that out. Otherwise, it's very difficult to get it out. With a direct injecting engine, the fuel doesn't come through the intake here. It gets directly injected by this high pressure fuel injector. So it never comes through the valves, which what normally detergent gasoline would do, and wash those out. So that's why for these kinds of engines directly injected, you will need to probably blast the intake valves. But hopefully you can see the carbon buildup in there. We'll go through all of these holes here. I taped them with metal tape to make sure we don't get walnut shells in the other cylinders while we're blasting this one. We're going to use the button, the leads here, and we're going to tie it to the starter so we can crank the engine. To tighten the starter, that's the starter, so we're going to pull this thing off. So that's 12 volts, and that's the starting pin, so we're going to connect that and that, and we're going to basically jump the 2 there. You can see that we had to make a little adapter to attach to that part of the low voltage. It's a 12 volt system. That's the high voltage line, the big red one. So we attached it from there and there. And so we come up with this cable, and the cable comes up to the starter switch. You see it's red. So as you can see, we can pulse the starter, and that allows us to close the valves in here so we can clean them. All right. You have to do this even with walnut blasting. I recommend you get one of these switches rather than just take that wire, that white wire, and tap it to that red. I mean, you can do that. It's really cheap, but this is just way safer. There's no sparks. See, the button lights up when we got it connected. You can see what happens. So we're looking for those valves to close, and we figured that out by clicking this. We'll be able to blast. We got our vacuum plugged in. We're going to start it like this. Pretty tight fit. Turn it on. I'm going to try to blast it with some walnut shells. Okay, let's check what we got. Keep going. Yeah, if you're wondering how I light this, so that's what we're trying to see. It's nice. It's really nicely lit. Very little shadows. It's got overhead light. Got this 10,000 watt LED shining on here. We've got our walnut blasting media, our turbine to take out the walnut shells, our shop vac, 2 hoses to the air compressor, because one hose goes to the walnut blaster, and there it goes to just a regular hose. So that's why you can see so well. It's really bright in here. And also we have our garage studio lights on. We peppered the entire roof with multiple LED lights. We can also add that one. And there's another set of lights over there that I've turned on. So that's why this looks so good. We have the blasting rod to the blaster with the walnut shells in it. We have our vacuum right there in cylinder 1. Obviously we have the controller here, which tips the starter to crank the motor to shut the valves. So we're going to plug this in that little hole there and do some more blasting, and then we'll move in the next cylinder. That one, and it's hard to see, but you see all the carbon is gone. So walnut shell blasting works really well. All right, the vacuum pump is going. Take your wand, you shove it in. You shoot it, move it around like this. And that'll unload a whole lot of walnut shells into the mix. Then, in order to remove it, you have to take some air, blast it out. Otherwise, not all the grains will come out. Then turn off the vacuum. You can check the valves. Looks pretty good. All right, so far we put back the butterfly valve, the charged air pipe, which is down there. Put that screw in. It's a clamp here. We put in the 2 blow-off valves. It's got one here and one here from the back, and then the front of the engine. And then we'll put on this pipe, which is the air cleaner, which is above all the stuff here. So I think that's really it. You had to plug in, remember there's a mass airflow sensor in there. There's a wire that came out, and also the mass airflow sensor up here. When you got the box back in, you're doing that pipe clamp and the clamp back here. You can see it, that's that hose there. The back of the carrier has these little tabs. You can see them. There's like 1 there, 2 there. Well, these power hoses clip into there. So this one goes like that. I don't know if you can see that right there. And then this one like right there. And there's one more kind of hidden down here with the positive. But yeah, you had to remove those, otherwise it keeps your air cleaner from coming out. But that's it. There's no secret there. And then we put this guy back in. Yeah, I think that's it. So it's not that difficult to walnut shell blast, but you have to take apart all this other stuff. As long as you know what you're doing, it's actually okay, but otherwise it's a little bit of work. But other than that, I did a good job of replacing almost all the coolant pipes as well. So check that in the next video.